Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade.
We chronicled the distinct memories of our childhood in our book, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s, which takes you on a notably historic journey through that often forgotten decade. We also want to hear about your experiences during the 1950s. We will feature guests whose special stories of that decade will bring to mind magical moments of reflection, some with tears, some with smiles, but above all, a good dose of laughter.
We would like you to chat with us as we bring to mind the sights and sounds so familiar to that time in history. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Hello. Thank you for joining us again today. Jackie, we're alive and kicking, and we're ready to introduce this new guest. This is guest number 95, folks.
Okay. And good. Welcome to you. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening, whenever you're visiting with us.
You bet.
Glad you're here.
Yes. And we're so glad that you choose to tune in to watch these wonderful programs of Memories of the 50s. Each guest has a unique story to tell, maybe something like your story of the 50s. And if you have a fun story, we would love to hear it. You know, you might not even think that it is fun, but it can be to other folks. Just the thought that there was so much in life happening in that decade. So Jackie, this wonderful guest we have today, tell us about him.
Well, first of all, housekeeping. Viewers, please look in the lower part of your screen. You'll see that purple banner with www.whilethewindmillwatch.com. And that is our website where you can find all sorts of information about the book and the authors, the vendors, the events where we will be or have been, telling folks about the book and this 1950s Fun Chat. Now, Janine, is this about number 95 we've done?
It is, and in Fun Chats, but and when you're done introducing that part, I'd like to mention something about our upcoming North Dakota book tour.
Okay, well, one more item then, please. Folks, look at the upper right-hand corner. You'll see our book, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s. And the cover features a beautiful North Dakota sunset, which wraps around the book. You'll also notice a little white spot in the lower corner of the book, and that is a very important little white spot. You can't quite see it there, but indicates is that it won the 2022 Independent Press Award as the distinguished favorite in the category of regional nonfiction. Now, the book was published in 21, and this came to us in 22, and in 23 we have started a new venture, in regard to While the Windmill Watched. Janine will tell you about that.
Oh, yes, there's a movie coming, folks, titled While the Windmill Watched, and it will be based on the story in our book, and of course, through the 1950s, and we'll keep you updated as we get into that. But the script, draft 1, has already been written, and as Jackie and I are executive producers, we've given input to the writer and the producer of the story, so we're waiting for draft 2, and we'll just keep going from there. But interestingly, Jackie, we love going back to North Dakota. And if you know Jackie and me, you realize that, well, neither she nor I live in North Dakota presently. And so when we go back into North Dakota for a book tour, we're so glad to get back home. And we do have our third North Dakota book tour upcoming the end of September, first week in October. Already there are dates set up, mostly in Northwest North Dakota this time. We haven't been to that part of the state where our vendors are located. So we'll be giving presentations and doing book signings. And then we'll be coming down to Bismarck and doing more there, which is kind of in our backyard where we grew up. But we'll be speaking to a lot of classes especially those middle school classes who learn about North Dakota history. And we figure that we've got a story that will keep them interested in learning about North Dakota history. So more about that as we go through the summer. But Jackie, let's get forward today.
Okie dokie. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce you to Mr. Luke Reichert. He was born on January 28th in 1939 in the home of his midwife near his family farm, which was located 4 miles north of Brunswick, Missouri. He's number 6 of 16 children, 9 boys and 7 girls. There are 28 years between the oldest and the youngest sibling. After the 8th grade, he left the public school system and entered the Roman Catholic Seminary, where he finished high school. He took 4 years of college and 4 years of theology at Conception, Missouri. He was ordained in Brunswick. Luke now resides in Cedar Ridge Village, which is in West Des Moines, Iowa. Welcome, Luke, to the 1950s Fun Chat. We're so glad to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I understand that like so many people raised in the 50s, I understand you were raised on a farm. So we'll just touch on that lightly and then tell us what you were responsible for chores, for instance. Now, there were lots of you to do the work, and there was a lot of work to be done, I'm sure. So what were some of your responsibilities?
Well, one of the things was I was involved in doing the chores, which was milking the cows, feeding the cows, and taking care of that both morning and in night.
Mm-hmm.
And also I had other chores like to work in the garden. We had a huge garden there because I had a huge family.
Sure. Yes. Yes. Luke, how many cows were you responsible for milking morning and night?
We only usually milk 2 cows, just enough for our own milk and cream and butter.
Sure. Did you get in on the chore of separating the milk?
Washing the separator?
No, we didn't. My mom pretty much took care of that. I did the milking and bring it in and strained it, but
Okay.
she took care of the separation.
Did you find that those 2 cows were usually waiting for you in the morning to come out and milk them?
Yes, they were either waiting for us or that we had them enclosed pretty close to where we needed to start milking them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And did you have names for them?
Well, I had a young brother that was taking care of them and doing the milking, and he named he named them after me and my wife.
I mean, later on, as you got into marriage, is that correct?
Yeah, that was Luke and Linda.
Well, that's interesting. He must have thought very highly of you to name those cows after you and your wife.
I guess.
What did you grow in your garden? What kind of vegetables?
We had every type of vegetable you could name. We had lots of potatoes, but we had green beans and we had radishes and lettuce and most everything. We also raised watermelons and muskmelons and squash. And we had sweet corn and we had popcorn that we raised.
Oh, okay. Do you remember much about growing popcorn?
Yeah, it was pretty much similar to growing any other corn, and then you just shucked them when they were ripe. Was to get the corn off the cobs, and we had a sheller that used it. That's the way we did the popcorn.
Was popping corn in your family saved for a special night? I mean, was popcorn a treat for you?
Well, it kind of was, although sometimes we would have it several nights in a row, but usually it was a special type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were raised in the country, and
Yes.
I understand you attended a one-room country school. So what sorts of things can you share about that experience?
Well, the country school was about a mile and a half from where I lived, or where our house was, and I'd walk through our pasture to get to a road that took us to the school on the opposite side of where we were. So that walking. I was there, and so I don't remember exactly how I got to fifth grade to the Catholic school in the small town of Brunswick, Missouri. And from then on, we pretty much was out of it. But for the first about 5 years of my life, I was spending a lot of time in that school, the one-room schoolhouse. And we had one teacher that took care of everybody. And some of the classes, there weren't any students in them. Others, they were all kind of small classes. But this was just one room, big school in the country.
Mm-hmm. Did you take your lunch to school? And if so, what was that? Do you have a traditional food you took every day?
We took our lunch. We had to take our lunch at school. We had a sack lunch that my mom would fix either that morning or the night before. And that's what we had for lunch.
But did you ever have it where you'd take a potato wrapped in foil and then you'd sit that on the stove, and then at noon you'd have a baked potato?
No, I don't know that we had a stove available there, but
okay.
And mostly our food was like a sandwich and an apple and maybe cookies or some kind of thing for dessert.
Sure.
So how was the school heated in the winter?
Well, we had a big stove in the kind of the middle of the place, or up towards the rooms.
Okay.
And it was through coal and wood that we heat everything.
In Brunswick, was there much snowfall during the wintertime?
Brunswick, yeah, in central Missouri, yeah, we would have quite a bit of snow. It would differ from season to season, but sometimes there would be a lot of snow. That mostly then we'd have to get to school that way, walking. If the weather was too bad, then my dad would take us around the roads, which was quite a ways to get around to the school.
Sure.
But,
and how did you get there? Were you was it a horse-drawn vehicle, or like we were in a hay wagon? Did he get you there by horses, maybe in a hay wagon? Or?
No, he would take us in the vehicle car to get there. We didn't have to ride a horse. I had to ride a horse. And that was kind of fun.
We're having a little technical difficulty. Can you tell us about that horse again?
Well, it's a tame horse that the teacher had, and she lived, I don't know, a couple miles from there. So she got a ride up to the school on her horse. But mostly we didn't have to ride. We were close enough. We could just walk through the pastures to get to ours.
Okay.
Okay.
Luke, did you have a family dog?
Oh, yes. We always had a dog. Yeah. And on the farm, you always had a dog that we'd see that took care of things. And I don't know, protect this. But yeah, the dog would be following us all the time. Matter of fact, followed us out we had a prairie, which was about 4 miles from where we lived. And the dog followed us out there. And then we were house that had several dogs. They come out barking and chasing, and our dog kind of tried to escape and went and run under one of our tires. So that was the end of the dog.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that happened on the farm.
Yes. Well, we had a number of dogs on our farm too. I don't think any of them were run over by the car, but I know of situations in our neighborhood where that happened. And dogs just like to chase tires, I guess. That's kind of their thing.
That's right.
So you had in your large family.
Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, in your large family, your holiday celebrations were probably a pretty big deal. So can you tell us about, let's say, a Christmas holiday? How about the tree, the decorating, the dinners, the relatives, whatever?
Yeah, somewhere around the first week of December, we would go out and cut a tree. down from one of our pastures and bring that in. And then we would decorate that. It usually was about I don't know, 6 to 10 foot tree that would fit in the living room. And then we would decorate that with all the different types of things that we had from year to year.
Yes. Was that a red cedar tree?
It was not a red cedar. It was just a regular cedar.
Yellow cedar. A yellow cedar.
It was a green. It was green.
Right, but yeah.
Okay.
So did these cedar trees just kind of grow wild in Missouri?
Well, yes, it grew on our farm, and we'd find one that would work what we need, and we'd need to pick one that was kind of looking nice. And then we would end up as a family day.
I remember for a couple years, I wanted a little cedar tree in the kitchen. And so I asked my husband to go out and chop one out of the ditches because they grow very easily in our road ditches. And he brought it in, and I thought, oh, this is going to be so aromatic and smell like wonderful pine fragrance. Evidently, some wild animal had decided to urinate on it.
Oh, no.
That's the smell we
they
had.
would do that.
Yeah, right. And what was some of the food like on your Christmas dining table?
It was pretty normal. Of course, we'd have desserts most every meal.
Oh, really?
Weekend at Christmas, and we'd be more things. My mom would make a lot of candy of different sorts and cookies, Christmas cookies and all that. So we'd have a lot of that around to have in the evenings, or when we had company coming, she would get all that out. She made all kinds of different kinds of candy. She was the best cook you could ever find.
Well, lucky you.
Yeah, it was. Well, she had a lot of work to do, and we had to help her. The women, my older sisters, did a lot of the inside chores, but there was a period of time when we didn't have anybody that was able to from the women's side, so the men had to do that as well as do the outside chores.
That's what you do in a family.
Yep,
That's
you
right.
well-rounded. Well-rounded. And then did you raise any poultry, chickens or geese or turkeys?
Yeah, we had chickens and we had some guineas, but mostly the chickens we raised because we needed the eggs. So we'd have a lot of chickens and raised all our eggs.
And then you had the guineas for eggs too, or?
Well, that was mostly to eat or else to look at. They liked to make a lot of noise, and they were a different kind of animal, but they were hard to catch too. They'd fly up, they'd roost in the trees outside. They'd fly up in them.
Yes. Well, a lot of people, I think, in our neck of the woods might have had a roast goose or duck for Christmas, and that's what we had had.
A roast, not duck. We'd have
a goose or turkey.
A goose, roast goose.
Turkeys came along much later, and
okay.
But,
all right. Well, it sounds like Christmas was a wonderful time for your entire family.
Oh, it was, because usually I had been gone away. The first time I get home from after September the 1st was December for Christmas.
Yes.
With the family, and that was a neat time. Then we had to go back to school after the first of the year. So,
did many of your siblings go move into the Catholic school system as well?
Oh yes, they all that stayed around did that to the elementaries. My older sisters then, when they got through high school, would leave and go to Kansas City was one of the places they went to. My one sister went to Saudi Arabia or someplace over there for part of her she's working with the government's camps over there, the U.S. government. So
Did she
she's
stay
been
there?
working.
Did she stay there a number of years?
No, she would go over there for the school year and then come back home.
Oh, okay.
That,
Uh-huh. Yes.
yeah.
And when you all got back together again, what was it like? What did you feel like when your family was all together under one roof?
Well, that was pretty crowded. Now, the last time I've been together with my family was about a couple of years ago, and we had a family reunion. And of course, there's a lot of people, and then there's about 5 or 6 of them that have been deceased. But back then, it was just a large gathering. It was a great time having fun with. Of course, I had a few brothers and whatever to see. I do have a picture here of my family. I don't know if you can see that.
Wow.
Oh, goodness, Luke. Yes.
That was taken not too long ago, a year or two ago, and shows the 7 girls and the 9 boys.
What a keepsake.
Yeah.
That
Precious.
is.
Precious.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, my mom's in. No, don't have any of the parents there.
Mm-hmm. So where did you attend seminary?
It was in northwest Missouri, north of St. Joseph, Missouri, about 10, 15 miles. And I was there mostly through high school. From a sophomore on, I was in there for 3 years of the high school and then 4 years of college. And then one of my years of high school, I was in Elkhorn, Nebraska, is where we had the high school.
Okay.
And then I was back then to Northwest Missouri for my college and my theology after that. And
So
then,
go ahead. Excuse me. Go ahead.
when I was after I was ordained and I worked in central Missouri in the Jefferson City Diocese, I was assigned to that, working that, and I worked in a few parishes there for 5 years while I was a priest.
Okay. So can you look back and give us a typical day, or maybe they all kind of mush together, but maybe a typical day at the seminary? Were there some certain things that you did in the morning at this time, and this time?
Well, yes, we would get up about 5 or 5:30, and they would ring the bell, and we would all get up. That was when I was there, and I was in high school level. They would we'd have a prayer. We would come back then and have a school class. Noon we would be in school or classes, and then part of the afternoon we would also, and then we our rooms or wherever we were sleeping. We had, when I was in high school, later on we had an in room there that that's where we lived. When we'd get, then we listen. That was about it until the end of May, 1st of June, when we'd be back home for the summer.
Did you gain a close friend through that experience?
Would you repeat that?
Sure. Did you gain a close friend during that seminary experience?
My classmates and some of the other people there were very good friends of mine. Actually, there was I had a black student who was in my class, and that was a strange thing for me because I wasn't around a lot of black people. And my dad, I introduced him to my dad, and that was a kind of a different experience for him too. But mostly it was just the regular people, but there were a few others that were of different, Oriental and this type of thing.
Mhm.
So what led you to become a priest? What was your impetus at the time?
Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to get away from the bad, mean world, the evil world,
Oh.
which was, I changed my mind on that. And it was because I enjoyed the learning and I enjoyed the spirituality. And after 11 years, I enjoyed being ordained because as you went along, when you got into theology, whatever, you were a pretty big person there. You're top of the people. But ordination was great because they were very rare that you'd have those in a little town, a community that I lived in. And then I enjoyed the work I did in Moberly, Missouri, and working with students there. And then in Kurtzville, Missouri, at Northeast Missouri State University, I was assigned to that area. And then after a while, I decided I wanted to be married. And so I took steps to get released from my vows. And a year later, I was married.
Okay.
And had 2 children.
I think you had told me in an earlier conversation that in order to be released from your vows, that had to come from the Pope. Is that correct?
Yeah, it did eventually, but it came through his people working for him. The bishops and that did the work, and the people locally started the whole process and sent in the paperwork and so on. And they had to be to do and wanted to do that. I wasn't making mistakes, and so they would interview on that situation.
And so then you married. You married, and tell us about your wife.
How did you meet her?
I met her when I was our priest, and I met her, and she was one of the reasons why I left the priesthood. I was married in the little town of Brunswick, I believe. Or no, I guess it was Kurtzville is where I got married. And she was from Iowa, I believe. Omaha, well,
The Midwest.
the Cedar Rapids area. She was close to that. So that's where I grew up in. And later later she died on Christmas morning.
Oh, sorry.
She had health problems different times. I think she died when she was like 71. So I was single then, and after to some that is still living, to move to her family, children, and family was back in Iowa, so that's when split up, and she went her way. She's still alive. Last time I seen her was about 2005. But
and I'm sorry that the atmosphere must be tickling our broadcast here. But so we're just going to keep moving forward as we can. Luke, what led you to come to West Des Moines to live there?
Well, a job. I got my counseling degree at Kirkwood, Northeast Missouri State University. And I got a job then here. Actually, the first place I tried, I got a job up here in Kurtzville. And so that brought me to Iowa.
Okay.
And I've been here ever since. Actually, I've been in Iowa longer than I was in Missouri. And I worked with Kirkwood as a counselor
That's for how long did you work at Kirkwood? How long were you at Kirkwood, Luke?
About 22 years.
Oh my! And that's Kirkwood Community College and at
Yes.
Cedar Rapids.
Right.
Okay, so we made an Iowan out of you, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you did. I've been in Iowa longer than I've been anyplace else.
Okay.
And
So,
it was a great experience. So, but once COVID hit, I kind of retired, and then I'd gone back to work in mornings. But then COVID hit, and I never went back to being a counselor again.
okay. So of all the years and all the experiences, what is the most important lesson you've learned in life? Or can you just pinpoint one, or are there many?
Well, one of the things I was very open to and friendly with people, and I thought it was very important to be accepting of all the different types of people that I came run into contact with. And that was one of the things I learned, but also I got involved in some of the things because I needed them, friends, and God to help me meet my needs in many things. And God and religion was very strong aspect throughout my whole life, and still is.
Yes. Good. Good. He's a guiding light, that's for sure.
Yeah, he was, and he's been the most help. And I need a lot of help, and so that's
we all do.
yeah.
So, if you had an opportunity to give advice to a young person, what might you tell them?
Well, I'd tell them to be in touch with themselves as to who they were, and really be accepting and loving of themselves as a person, and be open to meeting people and being open to other people also, and being a friend.
Yes. Luke, we're nearing the end of our fun chat already, and time has gone quickly. And can you tell us, just off the top of your head, what would have been a fun memory of the 1950s?
Well, a fun memory, I don't know about the 50s. Golf became a very important part of my life, but I wasn't that one when I was in the 50s. That became later, 70s. But a fun thing was coming home after being gone for 3 months to Christmas and celebrating with my family. That was a very positive experience. Of course, on the other side of it, when I had to go back to school for another 4 months, it was, but I adjusted to that. But that was great experiences. But my youth was filled with 2 other brothers I had that we spent a lot of time together, having a great time, and I had a great family atmosphere. That was a positive experience for me.
Good. And is there, what from your childhood have you felt that has impacted your life as an adult?
I think mostly it was people and getting along with my classmates and having friends, and enjoying those aspects. I pretty much had been very positive throughout my whole life, and that all began back then. I had a very, very together family and a very supportive family, even though there was a lot of things we didn't do because of the times, but the love was still very much available, and that's been very beneficial as I've grown up.
Yes. Viewers, we are so thankful and happy that you joined us for this, the 95th edition, you might say, of our 1950s Fun Chat. And Luke, Reichert, we thank you for being a guest on our program today. It's always wonderful to hear the memories of the childhood of folks like you and me and Luke and Jackie, and to hear those stories, because it was an impactful time in our lives. So Luke, we thank you so much for being our guest. And
I thank you for having me.
you are welcome.
Very
Jackie,
good.
how can you wrap up our program today?
Well, just a couple of things, viewers. You'll see Know Your Colors. See a red button. That's a subscribe button. We'd appreciate if you'd push that. And then also the blue thumbs up button. And until next time, we want you to maybe tell your friends, your family about the 1950s Fun Chat. So until then, toodaloo.
Bye-bye.